Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, to be honest, it's really just what companion videos used to be, except now on Mailbag, all we take are the questions that you guys send in via the tip link below. On the John Campea Show proper that we do Monday through Friday in the mornings, we only take in live questions from people who are watching live. But if you've got a comment or question that you want to send in to have Rob and I answer here on the show, but you're not watching the show live, no problem. Just go down into the description of this video and you'll see a tip link there, or you can enter it in the address manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip, and you will see your comment or question read here on a Mailbag episode. Of course, if we deem your comments or questions proper to be used and applicable to be used on our show, of course. And for all of you who do send in those questions, thank you guys so much for your support. And of course, I'm not here by myself. I got Robert Meyer Burnett here with me. Robert, how you doing?
John, I'm doing good. I like these. This is my third Mailbag. I'm very excited. I like doing it with you. I feel like we got a good Lethal Weapon rapport. I'm the old guy. I'm too old for this. And you're Riggs. I'm Murtaugh.
And I'm the raging crazy guy?
Yeah.
All right. I'll take that one.
But good with the gun, whose hands are a lethal weapon.
They are lethal weapons. So I'll take that for now. Just maybe not the latter years. The earlier days. I'll take the earlier days. But anyway, guys, good to have you here. So let's not waste any time, and let's get right into answering the questions you guys have been sending in the last couple of days. We're going to start things off here with L's World Studios writes, I can hear the Weird Al parody of We Don't Talk About Bruno already. It's We Don't Like to Play Uno, featuring Lin-Manuel since they are such good friends. Of course, you guys know Weird Al's actually a hero of mine. So whenever there's a big song out, I always wonder, what would Weird Al make out of this song? I've been thinking that since I was in grade school, and I'm still thinking it today.
That's pretty good, though.
That's a good. We don't like to play Uno.
We don't like to play Uno.
That one works.
See that. I like that.
All right, next up, McDavid Deserves Better writes, as of February 2nd, which was just 2 days ago, it has officially been 20,000 days since the last Toronto Maple Leafs Stanley Cup on May 2nd, 1967. Do you subscribe to the theory that the Harold Ballard curse actually haunts the organization, sending thoughts and prayers to Leafs Nation? Yeah, that's right. Now, I don't know if you know this, but I was born well after 1967, which means never in my lifetime, never as long as I have been on this earth drawing breath, have the Toronto Maple Leafs not only just not won the Stanley Cup, but have ever even been to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can worry about how the Seahawks did this year.
Yeah,
that's adorable. But my entire lifetime, and I don't know if they ever will. No, I do not believe in the Harold Ballard curse. Now, for those of you who don't know, Harold Ballard was the owner of the Toronto Maple Leafs for a very long time. He was also the owner of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, which is the Hamilton CFL Canadian Football League team.
And that's your hometown.
And Hamilton is my hometown, which is just an hour away from Toronto. So Ballard was the owner of the Ticats and of the Maple Leafs. And they never won. They always sucked growing up. They're actually really good this year. They got a legitimate shot this year, but we'll see how that all kind of unfolds. All right, thanks a lot for reminding me of that, McDavid. All right, Korea Got Soul writes, hey, John and the gang. So I didn't realize this in the trailers, but I know one of the people in the new Jackass movie. I went to school with her, Rachel, and it's pretty insane to see her on the big screen. I hope she doesn't hurt herself too much. Well, not a lot of people know this. There's a couple of new cast members in Jackass, including a girl, and I'm wondering if that's the girl he's talking about. There's also a new guy called Poopsie. That's his name is Poopsie. And then a couple of other fellas as well. The girl, now that's a part of the crew, she doesn't do a lot in the movie, but she's fearless. Fearless.
Wow.
Whereas when a bunch of all the guys are about to do some kind of stunt, right, you can see them being very worried and concerned. And of course they should be. They're about to do crazy, terrible things. But this girl, not a blink of fear. And she had to do a couple of very, very crazy things. And it's like, no, okay, I'll do that. Okay, boom, just lean and do it. Oh, wow, okay, do you need me to do it again? I'll do it again. Boom. It's like she's totally fearless. And if that's the girl you're talking about, man, then yeah, she's got balls of steel, man. She's really great. Even though they only had her do 2 or 3 stunts in the movie, but when the ones she did were kind of nuts and again, totally fearless. All right, next up, also from Korea Got Soul writes, Hey, John and the gang, have any of you seen All of Us Are Dead? Oh my goodness, it makes Walking Dead look like a PG show and in no way repetitive at all. It is bloody fantastic. If not, you guys should really treat yourselves. Korea does it again. This is one, Rob, that you and I have been talking about for a while. Yep. Anne was just saying last night she really wants to watch it. I haven't started on it yet.
Oh, I'm in. I'm about in the middle of it.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And how is it so far?
It's pretty bonkers. I mean, the whole thing is set at I guess it's a regular high school. It's a big high school where a crazy biology teacher / scientist had a rat infected with some disease that, of course, causes a zombie outbreak. And from the opening scene, it's bonkers. And it is bloody. It is violent, it is unrelenting, and it is also sort of heartfelt.
How many episodes are there?
I think there's 13. It's a long show.
See, the zombie genre, I will admit, they're for instance, Train to Busan, great. Pop it on.
They name check
Train to Busan?
In this show. Train to Busan was a movie that people saw.
See, that's great. But can I sit through 13 hours of, I get it, zombies, they're going to get you and kill you. But
at high school.
At a high school. So I could see that as a really fun movie. But really?
So far, it's pretty good.
And it's holding you in there.
It's holding me in there. You know, I love the zombie genre, but it's a little tired. But this is sort of an interesting take on it.
All right.
I'm enjoying it, but it is... I guarantee you, by the end of the first episode, you'll be like, "Oh, okay, we got to go."
I'll tell you what, Anne has been dying to see it, so we're probably going to crank down and watch this ourselves.
Give it the first episode.
All right, I will do that. All right, thanks for that, Korean Got Soul. All right, Scott Brown writes, I'm looking forward to anything that Robert Pattinson and Bong Joon-ho do together. Of course, they've got that new one coming out. But is it just me, or does Mickey 7 sound exactly like Moon? I mean, beat for beat, Sam Rockwell goes on a mission, presumed dead, and the Moon base puts out another clone to replace him. I think it's a far cry, because you and I actually talked about that comparison the other day. We talked about that. We did. A little bit of this sounds a little reminiscent of Moon, but beat for beat, no. When you actually read the full synopsis of this Mickey 7, it sounds like there's a little bit of... What was it? What was the one Singer was going to remake? It's the old classic sci-fi.
Logan's Run.
Logan's Run. It sounds like it's got a little bit of Logan's Run, maybe a little bit of Moon. I mean, there's a clone involved, obviously. Yeah. But I don't know that it sounds like it's beat for beat. It sounds still kind of unique to me. How does it sound to you?
Yeah, it doesn't sound beat. I think you're right. I just find the idea of, there's so many the new Mahershala Ali film.
Yeah.
Again, dealing with clones and it's kind of
That's an Apple TV, right?
Yes, it's in vogue now, this idea. I mean, I'll watch it. It sounds good to me.
Dude, it's been in vogue ever since Michael Keaton was, what was it?
Multiplicity.
Yep. That has been around for a long time.
There's a horror movie in the late 70s called Parts, the Clonus Horror. That is very similar to The Island, the Michael Bay movie, The Island, which also bears a resemblance to Logan's Run.
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Okay. But all that to say is that, yes, I definitely thought a little bit about Moon as well, but I really don't think it's beat for beat. So let's see how this one turns out. Thanks for writing that in, man. Next up, we got the Fanimator who writes, since the Batman premieres on my birthday, that's a birthday present for you, I was thinking of doing a private screening at AMC. If there are no private screenings available, do I have to go to the theater where I reserve one there? How did you book your Spider-Man 1 and how many came? Well, for our Spider-Man 1, that wasn't one I booked. That was one that was kind of done for us. But the best of my knowledge, is funny because somebody else wrote in today about renting theaters. I love this new trend, by the way, for movie theaters. Yes, I think you actually have to. You don't have to be there in person to book it. I think you can do it online, just like regular ticket purchases. You can hop on the AMC website, go as if you're buying a movie ticket to a regular screening, but just look for the book private theater option, and you should be able to do it. And then you got to go to that theater. I believe their maximum number of people they let you in is 40. I think 40 is their max that they let you bring in. So it might be different from theater to theater, but you should definitely go and check that out, Fanimator. All right, next up. Christopher Gonzalez, tips in like $20 to support the channel. Thank you, Christopher. Appreciate that, man. Hey, John. Not sure when you get this on your February 1st show. If you'll get this on your February 1st show, and obviously we didn't. One of your main topics, sorry, you didn't write this on February 1st, but on your February 1st show, one of your main topics was what movies are coming out for the month. You guys should do that every month. It was awesome to see your guys' input. P.S. I bought my first hot toy Captain America, which is a great one to get.
Which one? Because there's three. There's yours.
There's mine, which is the Infinity War one.
There's the Endgame one that came out, and then they did another Endgame one of the original 2012 suit, which is awesome.
Oh, so when the two Caps fight each other?
Yes.
That's a good one to have.
Yeah, and they had done that before, back in 2012, but the new version of it is nice.
The face sculpts just keep getting better and better.
So much better.
As far as the month's previews, we really should. I mean, that was great.
It was really good. I just, I need to look in advance and make sure I can really do the research.
Yeah, but so for those of you who don't know, but on February 1st, we did here's a preview of all the significant movies, the wide release movies. I mean, there's like 20 or 30 others that are just like small limited releases that will probably not be playing in a theater near you. But we covered, gosh, how many did we cover? Like 12, 13, like a bunch of movies.
I mean, Cyrano's coming out.
Oh, I'm so excited for Cyrano. I mean,
Dog.
The fact that I'm not as big about Dog.
Come on, dude. Co-directed by Channing Tatum.
I know. But there's a 1 week window there that's pretty awesome because I'm going to be able to see Cyrano, and the very next week I'm going to get to see the Batman.
Yeah.
Both of them in my top 3 most anticipated films of the year. Batman being number 1. I mean, it's a good time, but you're right, man. I really enjoyed doing that. I think people got a lot out of it. So yes, I think every month we will be doing a preview. Like March 1st, we'll do a preview of all the movies coming out in March. Gosh, I wonder what movie will be the headline for that one. But yes, we will definitely do that, Christopher. Thanks for your input, man. I appreciate that. All right. Jonathan Thurmond writes, Boba Fett Episode 6, or as I called it, Nostalgia and Frog Torture Joking. I love the episode. They really got better with their face CGI. Look.
Dude.
I was sitting there watching it with Ray and Ryan. Ray and Ryan get together every Tuesday night at midnight for Boba Fett, every Wednesday night at midnight for Peacekeeper. So, and it's great because Ray usually brings over some food. Ryan stops at the store, grabs some snacks. It's a good night. It's a good time. But I remember sitting there watching the episode, and it became clear that Luke was going to be in it. So, okay.
Right.
And then he comes on screen, and I was just dumbfounded by the improvement over last time. Now, look, there's still a couple of caveats here. There really wasn't a lot of movement. There really wasn't a lot of expression,
or real close-ups,
or tight close-ups in the midst of some action and moving around. Like they are still a long ways away from. Like I remember Rob wrote into the show the other day saying, well, now they have the technology, they can just do a Luke Skywalker show. If you want Luke sitting on a couch talking about his adventures, maybe, but they're still a ways away. But that notwithstanding, the improvement over what we saw at the end of Mandalorian season 2 was clear.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was stunningly good. And it takes a lot to impress me with visual effects and stuff like that. But color me massively impressed.
Dude, it's incredibly impressive. And what are they going to do in 5 years?
Yeah.
I mean, the technology is incredible.
The Uncanny Valley is not looking as impossible to cross. I mean, it's still there. Even yes. I saw some people write completely wrongly, but I saw some people write that the Uncanny Valley now is gone. It's like, no, we're not there yet, but oh my God, the improvements that they've made.
Also, again, effect shots come down to the design of the actual shots. They knew what their shortcomings were. They really played into where the technology is now for a great effect.
And also most of where there is moving cameras in Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, if you watch the Luke shots, most of the Luke shots, stationary camera, Luke not moving much. Yeah. And that's how they kind of pulled
but
up.
That's
it still
okay.
looked great. Yeah.
If it tells the story and it works.
And it told the story and it worked.
It was really impressive.
It looked so good. Okay. Next up, we've got, who is that? That was Jonathan. Now we've got Tomfoolery Skullduggery writes, I've heard people are upset about Luke placing the armor and lightsaber before Grogu. In this scene, Filoni pays homage to the Magna Chambara film series Lone Wolf and Cub, Well, I remember the entire Mandalorian series is based on Lone Wolf and Cub. I mean, the whole thing is based on Lone Wolf and Cub. Anyway.
But that scene's very specific.
It's very specific, and the child must choose between the toy or the sword. What happens next? Big surprise. Of course, only in this one, if Grogu chooses wrong, I'm pretty sure Luke isn't going to slaughter him.
Yeah.
Like was the option in Lone Wolf and Cub. But I mean, this was, you recognize that right away.
I mean, it's funny because I saw the first 2 Lone Wolf and Cub movies were edited into one movie called Shogun Assassin, which is one of the greatest movies ever made. And it's got a great, I wish that Grogu was narrated like Daigoro the Kid, because they have the greatest, the kid's voice narrates the movie. I would love it if Grogu started narrating in whatever voice he has. It'd be the greatest thing ever.
All right, next up, we've got an anonymous viewer who writes, I just finished 50 Cent's show on Star's Power. I've been seeing that for years, and I've always heard it's good, and I've never seen an episode. Have you guys checked it out yet? No. I highly recommend. Omari Hardwick definitely gave the best performance of his career as James Ghost St. Patrick, and Joseph Sikora steals every scene he's in as Tommy. And I've just been seeing the newest ads for the newest season. I've been seeing those plastered all over the place now when I'm watching TV. I've always seen the ads for years. I always think to myself, that looks really good. But again, Rob, you know me, I don't watch a ton of TV. I don't have a lot of time for TV.
Right.
And there's so much good stuff out there that before you know it, 5 seasons have passed and I just never got. Did you ever get?
I watched the first 2 seasons because a friend of mine was a regular.
You did. You saw the first full season.
First 2 seasons because an actor named Adam Huss was in it, and I watched it for him.
And
it was good. I mean, I kind of lost interest when he left the show, but it was good. I liked it.
All right. Thanks for that, Anonymous. Next up, The Anxious Narcoleptic writes, any thoughts of Sebastian Stan as Luke and Gina coming back? Well, Gina will never and should never come back. Regarding Sebastian Stan, I got to admit, I've got kind of now I'm sour on the idea. I love Sebastian Stan. I've been watching him in Pam and Tommy on Hulu, which he's been great in that. But I soured on the idea of it because for years, it's not new. For years, people said, Sebastian Stan looks like Mark Hamill when he's younger. He should be the new Luke. And I hate that. I hate that. Like, look, Lily James. Lily James.
Lily James.
Lily James looks nothing like Pamela Anderson until you see her in Pam and Tommy. And then she looks exact. Look, getting somebody that somebody looks like somebody else should never be the basis on whether you cast somebody in a certain role. Should never be the basis of it.
Brad Pitt, of course, looks like me.
Oh, of course.
So
I mean, that's
would obviously
why
play the biopic of my life.
when we do the John Campea Show, The Story, when they got to cast Robert Meyer Burnett, clearly it's going to be Brad Pitt. I mean, that goes without saying.
For sure.
And so because I just saw so many people say that, but only because somebody put together a Photoshop of Sebastian Stan as Luke, and it looks really just like him. And they're, he should play him. I soured on it just the same way I remember, Rob, when Superman Returns was being made. No. Superman Returns, no, Man of Steel. Man of Steel's, whatever. And somebody put out a picture. No, it was Justice League. Somebody put out a picture of Billy Zane, who was just in a movie or a show or something where he had a shaved head. Dude, you would not believe how many emails and messages. Billy Zane should play Lex Luthor. Look, his head is shaved. He should be Lex Luthor. And so it's kind of soured me on, even though I love Sebastian Stan now I actively don't want him to ever play Luke just because of so many people. Well, because he looks like him. But he's a great actor.
That's the thing.
I don't know that he can actually play that role. I don't know. What do you think about that?
He could. He does look the part. But again, I kind of like the idea that these characters are played by one actor and then retired. I mean, I think kind of Luke Skywalker is Mark Hamill. Sure, we now have a CG assisted version of him or whatever, but I think sometimes our pop culture heroes should be allowed to age out and be done. Like, move on. Do something else. Yeah. Create new characters in the Star Wars universe. I feel that Star Wars is really hampered by going back and retelling stories or they keep, it's a huge universe, dude. And we keep meeting the same people. It's like you're having the same, you're at the same Starbucks every morning on Mos Eisley. So,
I got that same feeling. I remember reading, the reason I gave up on reading the various Star Wars comic books is because that exact thought hit my mind. It's like, so literally the life of Luke Skywalker, every day of his life, we've got to narrate every single waking moment that Luke Skywalker's been around. It's every day is a new adventure. Every day his life is at risk. Every day he's doing something, blah, blah. And it's like, I just remember feeling like, haven't we told enough stories of Luke Skywalker? Luke Skywalker's my all-time favorite Star Wars character, but it's like, okay, enough.
Right.
Now, I say that, but who am I kidding? If they were to announce that tomorrow on Disney Plus, the Luke Skywalker series is coming out, of course I'm going to watch it. But I mean, but separating myself from that, I kind of feel like, enough. Let's move past Luke. Show us how he influenced an event of another story, but let's move past Luke.
I mean, when the two of us go out to save the galaxy
every day,
we do take a few days off.
Yes, though there has to be some downtime. All right,
catch a few movies.
Shoot a few
smoke
womp
some
rats.
death sticks. Yeah.
Next up, let's see where are we at here. We're at an anonymous viewer who writes, "Hey John, Ray's not here. Aaron and Chris, they're not here either. And the one and only Robert Meyer Burnett.
Hello.
I just listened to the beautiful Water Tower theme, and I find it amazing with the theme in the beginning, then leading into an almost RoboCop-like vibe that has the traditional anti-hero theme where you get the theme first and then the uplifting raise of the violin that shows the anti-heroes rise above the challenges faced. I'm a firm believer. What a great score can make a movie from a 7 to a 9 with a good score." I have no idea what he's talking about.
He's talking about Batman.
Is that the name of the piece? The Water?
Well, no, it's Warner Water Tower music.
Oh, Warner.
That's the name.
Oh, that makes sense.
And it says on the score, from Warner Water Tower, because there's literally a water tower on the Warner Brothers lot, as you well know. You go there.
Well, Yakko, Wacko, and Dot live in that water tower. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yes, from Animaniacs.
They lock them in the tower whenever they get caught. Yes, there you go. Okay.
So that's where that comes from. But it says it's hard because when you look at it's the Batman score, but it says underneath Warner Water Tower music, so it's hard to. But I think he's talking about the actual Batman theme,
right?
Maybe not the Riddler theme, but because they've released the two.
Yeah, the other piece came out.
But
earlier.
they have that logo, that Water Tower logo on them, so it's an easy mistake to make.
That makes more sense. I don't listen. A score is so important. I don't know that I'd agree that it by itself bumps a score up 2 points. It's definitely influential. It's a part of what makes a great movie great. But I'd say it can make a 7 and 8 or something. I don't know if I'd go. I can make a 7 and 9. Then again, I don't give numerical scores anymore.
A lot of people would say to you, they say this to me all the time. The best thing about Star Trek: The Motion Picture is the score, and they're right. Jerry Goldsmith's score is one of the greatest scores ever written. They use the theme again for Star Trek: The Next Generation. I would have to say in the case of, I love Star Trek: The Motion Picture, but for a lot of people, the score is the only thing that's...
That's the one redeeming quality about it?
Yeah.
Not a lot of Viger lovers out there?
I don't think so.
All right, what's next?
I am, though.
Well, yes. You were one of the few people I know that actually, you're one of the few Star Trek fans I know that really likes the original motion picture.
I know.
All right, you hold on to that, man. All right, next up.
Adrian Iscari is going right now.
James McDonald writes, "Loving the Book of Mando. It's a great show. Did you notice how in order for Grogu to choose the peaceful Jedi, he chose a sword, but to choose the warmongering Mandalorians, he would have to choose armor. The symbols are counterintuitive, but I love it." I mean, don't think that was lost on a lot of people.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. The whole thing was Mando was trying to give him a piece of equipment that is for defense and to defend himself.
To keep him safe.
But baby Grogu, if you want something that you can really bully all the other kids with and get your way, here's a sword. Choose the way of the Jedi.
Well, it might be the reverse. It might be a bait and switch. We might find out that he chooses the armor, and that's what Luke wanted him to choose.
Luke is playing mind games with a baby.
He's a 50-year-old baby.
Very powerful 50-year-old baby, nonetheless. Look, again, I think it raises an interesting question because it once again brought up the whole idea about the Jedi way and stuff like that and have to abandon attachments. And I still see today a lot of debate going on about, Luke should know better. Luke should know that rejecting attachments can lead to trouble. My argument is no, it's the opposite that's true. Luke has seen, and Ahsoka saw, what happens when you get a powerful Jedi who does not forsake attachments. You end up with Anakin Skywalker, who turns into Darth Vader. And because of his attachment to Padme, who we all cheered for while those terrible prequel movies were on, it's like, oh, they're in love, isn't it great? And they're sneaking around. By the way, how good can the Jedi be? They don't even know one of their own guys was actually secretly married. But yeah, they're not the sharpest tools in the shed, these Jedi. But I mean, like everybody's saying, oh, Luke should know better, that trying to reject. No, it's the opposite. His own father became a genocidal monster because, if you go back to the prequels, of his attachment to Padme. And Ahsoka should know that too. So I don't know, what's your viewpoint on that whole discussion?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the Jedi, to be effective, if you're going to be wise and act out of wisdom and act out of what's right, you know, if you have attachment, if you're in love with somebody, it clouds that judgment. You'll put them before you. And if you're doing that, that means you're going to put them before what might be the right thing to do. You know, you're going to go with your love and sacrifice, perhaps make a choice that's going to lead to the downfall of a republic.
Of the republic. And there's a great scene. Well, no, it's not a great scene, but there's a scene that really does illustrate that point. I think it was the second film. I think it was Attack of the Clones, when the Clone War is breaking out. And Obi-Wan and Anakin and Padme are in a transport. They're going after Dooku. And their ship gets hit, and Padme falls out in one of those infamous, awful shots of her falling ever so gently onto the sand and very gracefully doing a couple of rolls. And Anakin say, but what's interesting here is that the whole argument then breaks out between Anakin and Obi-Wan, where Anakin's like, turn the ship around, I gotta go save her. It's like, dude, the universal good here is that we got to stop. Doesn't matter. Got to get her. That's a great illustration. What allowing himself to have the attachment almost took away from all that.
Yep.
We could get into a 3-hour philosophical discussion on the way of the Jedi, but for now, we'll keep moving on. All right. Murray Reich writes, when I saw that silhouette of a person in the distance, it looked like a cowboy, but when the person was coming closer, I screamed like a baby. Oh my God, it's Cad Bane. Also, great seeing Luke again, but looking much better than in Mando season 2 finale. Absolutely. Can't wait for the season finale. I'm not going to, first of all, yeah, the Cad Bane, as soon as you saw that silhouette off in the distance, it's like they're doing it. They're bringing, I mean, we'd heard rumors, we probably talked about a year ago, but hearing rumors they were going to bring Cad Bane into this. But having him show up, look as good as he looked, sound as good as he sounded, act as cool as he did, that was out of the park. They knocked that out of the park. They crushed it. They absolutely crushed it. That being said, I wish I could be excited for the finale. I'm actually very anxious about the finale because it feels like, you and I talked about this, it feels like they just started the show.
I know.
It feels like episodes 5 and 6 were the beginnings of the story. And now we've only got one episode left.
I mean, now the big conflict with the Pikes and Mos Espa, that could be like a 3-part extended.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's going to be done in what, 45 minutes?
If we're lucky.
Yeah, if we're lucky. I mean, maybe it's a secret 2-parter and we don't know.
Maybe they'll surprise us, say, Book of Boba Fett Part 2 starting next week.
Right.
Because I forget, but when does Moon Knight start? Moon Knight doesn't start for a bit, right?
It starts in March. I think March 30th.
Which surprised us because we kind of thought like they would finish up the one and start right into the next. I don't know. Look, this is not going to happen. I'm just saying, let me daydream here for a second. What if at the end of this thing that next week starts the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 2, and it's actually they actually have 5 more episodes planned. They surprise us.
It seems to me like they could.
They could. I mean, they're not going to do it, but I would love it if they did. All right. Next up, also Murray Reich writes, although I'll admit I was pretty upset that it was overtaking a Boba Fett show. Like, I get what they did in episode 5, which made narrative sense, but this was more of a look. Everyone's something more shiny than the last episode. And Boba be like, am I a joke to you? The next one is about something else. Look, I still feel this. You and I have talked about this a couple times. I still kind of feel like, first of all, episode 5, The Return of the Mandalorian, I feel like that episode is justified because, and I said this at the time, because you can't just have Mando show up, right? You can't just have Mando show up because we wouldn't know why is he here, what's motivating him right now, what's going on behind the mask. By giving us episode 5, Mando now showing up on Tatooine carries weight. And so I defended that decision. But I also said, but in episode 6, you better put the focus back on Boba Fett. And I'm sure they will. Oh, and they didn't. No more Boba Fett to be seen, except for that one little shot in his little war room. But we'll see. Again, that might have been the same purpose with Grogu as it was for Mando. We needed to see what Grogu was facing. Because if Grogu just showed up and we didn't know about the choice he made, when that Luke confronted him with. Yeah. We didn't know about the struggle that Mando had, about being willing to let him have his life and walk away from him and all that kind of stuff. It gives it more narrative weight.
Sure.
But again, that's something you do in the middle of the season, not something right at the end. So I don't know. What do they have to do you think, in this final episode to make it feel like both episodes 5 and 6 being so devoid of Boba Fett can make it make sense?
I guess they have to have Boba Fett lead the charge into battle, but it's not like they're going to go fight dudes in the streets, are they? Like, we don't even know. We know that there's a conflict with the Pikes, but it's almost like the Pikes are a big group of people.
Yeah.
What are they going to go, like, are they going to go to their headquarters and fight it out? Are they going to have a gunfight in the middle of the OK Corral or the middle of a Mos Espa? Like, what are they, like, I'm unclear as to what any of them are now going to do. You've assembled the team, so then what? Are you going to go knock on their door and have it out? Like, I don't quite yet know what's supposed to happen.
We'll see.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm unclear as to the course of action.
Well, we're 4 days away from finding out.
I know.
4 days. All right. Next up. Also, Murray Reich writes, I've never seen a Jackass movie before. Can I see the new one before the other 3? I've only seen Bad Grandpa and Bad Trip. Yes. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Jackass is that it's not a story.
Right.
It's literally everyone, at least in terms of the movies, it's just a collection of about 18 to 20 something stunts they do and gags they do. It's all disconnected. There's no running narrative. So can you? Yes. I, however, Murray, would recommend go back and watch Jackass 3. It's still my favorite of them is Jackass 3, but go watch Jackass 3, then watch Jackass Forever, and I think you will have a good time, depending on your sensibilities. All right. Casey McNatt writes, hey, John and crew. I noticed you were talking about where we could see an Obi-Wan trailer. Well, it turns out there is an annual shareholders investors meeting on March 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it will be webcast. So maybe there's a chance we see an Obi-Wan there. It's possible, but I have not, unlike the big Investors Day thing that was very much for the fans as well and consumers and stuff like that. And then, of course, they did Disney Plus Day, which was for the fans. I have not heard anything that this is a fan event. I haven't heard that at all. I mean, it might be. It might turn out to be. But right now, I've not heard that it's a fan event, so I'm going to doubt it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say. I think they want to keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
But I don't. And if they do release a trailer, hopefully they'll put it online. If they show it, and it's not a fan event, but it's just investors or it's not open to the public.
If it's webcast, they have to, right?
I guess they would.
Because otherwise it's going to be pirated instantly and put up.
Yeah, although is it webcast publicly or is it only webcast to shareholders?
Well, there's a lot of shareholders.
That's true.
And screen capture ain't hard. So I don't know. We'll see, man. Well, look, I do believe this. They've got to come out with one soon, right? Because that little
when does it air?
I can't remember. You know what? Hold on one second. All right. I think right now the official word is still sometime in 2022. I might be wrong. I might be forgetting, but I don't think they've given an official
I
release
haven't heard
date
a
yet.
date.
So who knows? It could be any time, though. All right. Next up, Blake writes, if I were Disney and I wanted max marketability, then I'd have Grogu go with Mando, become a Mandalorian, and have adventures. Then come back later and finish his Jedi training with Rey. Rey plus Grogu equals money. No, it would not. They rebuild the order together. Yeah, look.
But that's like a 25-year time difference.
Well, and the reality is Grogu will still be a child. He'll be 75, which is like, think about a baby and then add half of that baby's age. That's still a very, very young child.
Yeah.
And that's what he would be. Plus, I think you're the only person I've ever heard say, bring back Rey, that'll equal money. I think people are, look, I say this as somebody who loved The Force Awakens. Like, not like The Force Awakens, loves The Force Awakens. I love that movie. I liked The Last Jedi. I had issues with it, but I liked The Last Jedi. I hated The Rise of Skywalker. Hated that movie. But I think even people like me who started off loving that stuff, I'm like, okay, we're done. We're done with Poe, Finn, and Rey. Time to move on. So I don't know that having Rey plus Grogu I still think would be too young to be rebuilding the Jedi Order with her. He'd still be kind of a little child. I mean, he'd be speaking by then, but still, I don't know, Rob, would you do that if you're an executive at Disney?
No, I don't think that I would. I don't think that I would. I would keep everything kind of concise the way it is now, deal with our characters now, because again, there is that big time jump. Yeah. And then people will be like, well, where's Grogu been for the last 25 years? You know? I mean, this is now taking place 5 years after Jedi, and Force Awakens is 30 years after the end of Jedi.
So let me ask you something. Do you think it's possible or probable?
Uh-oh.
We found out in Mandalorian Season 2 that Grogu was in the Jedi Temple when the Purge happened, and somebody got him out. In Episode 6 of Book of Boba Fett, we start to see Grogu start to remember. And he's remembering the Purge happening. But we don't get to see how he got out and who got him out. Is that something they're going to reveal in the last episode of Book of Boba Fett, or is that going to be saved for Mandalorian Season 3?
I think they are going to reveal it. And I think it's going to be a revelatory moment.
And you know what? I agree with you. Because somebody said to me, wouldn't it be more appropriate, considering Grogu is a Mandalorian character? By Mandalorian, I mean Mandalorian the series. Wouldn't it be more appropriate to reveal that in Mandalorian Season 3? Yes, but you can only tease us for so long about the answer to that question. We've been waiting over a year for it already. Then you teased it again in the last episode. So now we've been teased with that mystery twice. Are you going to make us wait another year to hear the answer to that question? So I think you're right. I mean, I wouldn't put money on it, but I think you're right. I think they will reveal it.
Well, yeah, and then we've got not just one, but two questions. What does Grogu choose? Does he go with the mithril armor or the lightsaber? And who got him out of the Jedi Temple?
Well, we'll get the answer to that one, obviously, because if he shows up, he picked the one. If he doesn't show up, he picked the other. But then will they, in the midst of that, will he remember who got him out?
But we're going to find out both of those answers.
I hope you're right. I really do. I hope they don't tease us a second time, then make us wait yet another year to find the answer. All right. Next up, Tenzir writes, the Batman trailers are giving me the same vibes from the first Batman Telltale game, which I would recommend. It's a choose your own adventure. That's the Arkham, if I'm not mistaken. It's a choose your own adventure game. Without giving too much away, the plot is about a dark secret of Thomas Wayne coming to light, making Batman investigate the truth while taking on a new shadowy foe, all while Bruce has to deal with the consequences of the new family legacy and wrestle with truth with the memories and stories of his father. That's true, and I've heard other people talk about that, but it's the notion of Bruce Wayne finding out that there may be deeper secrets to Thomas Wayne than he initially thought has been visited a couple of times.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't remember, did you watch Gotham, the Fox series Gotham? Yeah. Remember they started getting into that a little bit. They didn't follow it through an awful lot, but the whole Court of Owls thing was brought all because of that. So it's not a new idea. Do you think they could go that way?
I think they could go that way. I think that's probably going to be part of the overall story that they're dealing with. But, there's that clip when the woman who's working with him or for him, she's like, your father was a philanthropist, your family, but you're not involved.
I see you could be doing more for the city. You could be doing
more for the city, and I think that's definitely going to be a bent, or it's going to be a part of what we're seeing is Thomas Wayne's legacy and where Bruce fits into all of that. So
I agree. All right, next up, Big Will writes, hey, John and crew. So I was watching the NFL playoffs this weekend. One of the best weekends of the last couple of weeks has been some of the best football I've ever seen.
Yep.
I was screaming and crying so much to games that I ended with laryngitis. Now I have to rest my voice and I can't talk, which sucks because I want to see Jackass Forever. And IMAO, I don't know what that is. But listen, the good thing about going to the movies is you don't have to say a thing. Just go. Sit down, enjoy yourself. I think you're going to have to, again, depends on your sensibilities. If you're a little more like Ray, maybe you find it a little difficult to watch. If you're a little bit more like me, you're going to have a good time. So whichever one you do, Big Will, I hope you enjoy yourself, man. All right, next up. Anonymous viewer writes, hello, are you going to be going to see The Godfather remastered and released for its 50th anniversary in Dolby Atmos? I know Rob is going to buy the Blu-ray. The answer to that 4K. Is yes. I have never seen The Godfather on the big screen.
Oh, I want to see it on the big screen because
this is a lifelong dream for me.
This new transfer is going to look incredible. You know, Coppola's been going back and he's revisiting his movies, and they've been remastering them in 4K. They did Apocalypse Now, they did The Outsiders, they did a beautiful restoration of that. So now they've done The Godfathers, so I can't wait to see those. And he's really doing a tremendous job. So I'll bet it looks incredible. I mean, when I say that, as incredible as a movie that's supposed to take place in the 1940s as possible. It's not going to look like, Star Wars or something.
It's going to be special. But I'm just telling you, I am so stoked for the idea of seeing it on the big screen. It comes out this month. I'm going to be finding a way to watch it.
You should go. I'll go.
So yeah, I cannot wait to see that. All right. Star Wars lady writes, one of two. Really feel like Lucasfilm has no idea what they're doing with Star Wars. The franchise feels so incredibly stale, same time period, same old story, and now we're deep-faking Luke, which I found horrible. Just recast. Dune feels more like Star Wars. You're not the first person I heard to say that. Feels more like Star Wars than Star Wars does. The Acolyte and Kenobi are really my Star Wars needs. Some new life, are really my only hope. I was hoping for a Luke show, but not if he's some weird deepfake man that you can't replace human emotion with. The deepfake freaked me out. Star Wars needs some new life put into it, a fresh era, way in the future or in the past. The marvel of doing things works for Marvel because it advances the story. Star Wars just feels stale and old. I love the films, but the shows, meh. Well, I mean, look, here's what I'll say to that Star Wars lady. There's a part of me that it does agree clearly with you, because I've been saying for a long time, years and years, that as much as I love the world of Star Wars and all that kind of stuff, I do find it frustrating, and I've talked about this a lot, that it feels like everything since the original trilogy has been about shrinking the universe. And when people ask, what do you mean by shrinking? I mean this. The analogy is this. You know how big of or small of a city you live in by how long does it take you to run into somebody you know when you walk out your front door. If you walk out your front door and you walk around for hours and hours and hours not bumping into anybody you know, it's probably a pretty big city you live in. You open your front door and you instantly see 5 people you recognize, it's probably a pretty small town. And I feel like ever since Return of the Jedi, every time we open the door to the Star Wars universe, we don't see new faces and new adventures and new places. We're seeing the same old, same old. Now, granted, some of that same old has been awesome, but it's still, hey, millions of planets in the galaxy. Great. Why have we gone back to Tatooine 17 times? Thousands of heroes throughout the universe. Great. Why are we always coming back to the same 5 or 6? At some point, Disney and Lucasfilm has to have, and I get they tried to do it a bit with the prequels, with the sequel trilogy. I mean, they tried to do that by bringing in Poe, Rey, Finn, and doing that. I get that philosophically. I'm on board with that, what they're trying to do, and then trying to springboard off the OG characters. And philosophically, I agree with that approach. But then we come to Mandalorian, which was great. But even Mandalorian couldn't stay unique. It had to start let's go back to Tatooine. Now we got to have talk of Jabba. Now we got to do this. And look, there's a character we've known before. And look, there's this we know before. And while a lot of it has been great, and I'm not crapping on it, Rob, I'm just saying, while I'm enjoying it so much, there's still that little thing in the back of my head. When are you going to do something new? Something different? When are we going to have to move beyond the cheap band in concert going, hello, Cleveland, yeah, for the cheap pop? It's like, look, everybody, it's R2-D2. Yeah, why was R2 there? Well, he goes wherever Luke goes, so I suppose. But again, as great as it is, it does feel that. So I see what you're saying with that, Star Wars lady, and on that point, I agree. Where I disagree, though, is that while staying within the familiar, that they have failed to come up with anything interesting. I disagree with that. Like, I think Mandalorian Season 1 was wonderful. I think Mandalorian Season 2 was wonderful. There have been moments of Book of Boba Fett that I think have been great. I love The Force Awakens. Don't get me going on The Rise of Skywalker. So I think they're having mixed results, but yes, amen, amen, and amen. It's time for them to do something new. Jump 50 years in the future, go back 1,000 years to the Old Republic, do something, change it up. I don't know. Rob, what's your thoughts on all that?
I feel the same way, John. I mean, also, I think one of the biggest problems is because these stories are not conceived of in advance, I feel that we're not getting fully realized tales. Like when you watch or read the books, when you read Lord of the Rings, you're really getting a meal. You're getting a story where the beginning and the middle and the end and all the characters have a reason for being there. And there's an incredible backstory to Middle-earth. And Tolkien figured all this stuff out beforehand. Yeah. So when you watch Return of the King, it is an incredibly fulfilling story, watching the multiple storylines, Sam and Frodo, and then you're watching Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli and the Riders of Rohan and Gondor and how all of that works. And I feel that the biggest weakness of Star Wars is that a lot of this stuff doesn't hang together as a coherent, full story. So they give us the familiar to sort of compensate for their lack of, like, I would love to have seen a Mandalorian story that had nobody that we'd ever seen before. It was all new. And then at the end, you realize the liberation of Mandalore is where that was going. Like, but instead, now we have part of the Skywalker saga, and then we've got what was going on in the Clone Wars and all this stuff, and it feels in a way all a little underdeveloped. Whereas when you watch Godfather 1 and 2, you feel like, when you're watching Godfather 2, Vito and Michael, and you're watching these two different generations, but the stories are different, but they all dovetail because they're dealing with, well, how does somebody rise to power? And in Michael's case, his logic and cunning means he lost his heart, killing his own brother. Whereas Vito, the thing that allowed him to become the powerful man that he was, is he retained his heart. He retained his humanity. And Michael, in trying to be a great leader and trying to be this cunning man that was going to protect the family, once you kill your own brother, man, your soul is gone.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really interesting juxtaposition. And I would love to have seen that between Anakin, and they kind of did that in the prequels, showing Vader, how Vader became Vader. But even then, it wasn't as coherent as I wanted it to be. All
right, let's move on. Thanks for writing that in, Star Wars lady. Appreciate that. All right, Koa1708 writes, the whole thing where one needs to shut off all emotions, attachments, and feelings in order to become a Jedi seems like a really adverse/stupid requirement. It's basically asking one to become a robot. That can't be good for the psyche, i.e. Vader. Again, Koa, I would argue the opposite. That approach for the Jedi worked for millennia.
Yeah.
It worked very, very well for millennia. And then Vader didn't adhere to it.
Nope.
Anakin broke the rules, fell in love with some, and not just fell in love with somebody because you can't really control what your own emotions do, but fell in love with somebody and then acted on that secretly behind the Jedi Council's back, got married and all that kind of stuff. So that is what led to the downfall. If anything, my argument is this, is that the Vader example is not a parable that teaches about why the Jedi should allow emotional attachment. It's a parable about why they haven't. Because this is what happens when you don't. Everything goes to crap.
And the Jedi are selfless. The whole point is to become part of the living force, which means the whole universe, all life surrounds you and binds you. And that's what you're as the Jedi, you're trying to bring a balance to that. And by creating attachments with another human being, it's inherently about you and them. And that sort of foregoes the whole idea of you're no longer part of the living force because your love is more important than the force itself.
And again, going back to that situation in Attack of the Clones, Padme falls out, and Anakin instantly wants to abandon the mission. Abandon the greater good of the universe because the object of my love is down there. So I got to abandon everything else. And Obi-Wan's like, what are you even talking about? Like, that's crazy talk. Stick to the mission. So anyway, so that's the kind of my thoughts on that, Ko, at any rate. Thanks for sharing yours. All right. Lucas Texvenger writes, hello from Texas. Hello, Lucas. First time writing in after 11 years of following the show. Well, it's good to thank you for being around for that long, man. We really appreciate that, dude. Love y'all and keep bringing on the filthy. Just want to mention that Max Rebo was nowhere to be seen in the cantina. Do y'all think he was just super lucky to survive again, or is he the real Pike boss? You know what? I noticed that. When the Pike guys went in, left the bomb, left in the musical montage, and they showed the musicians, no Max Rebo. He ain't there. So Max Rebo's still alive and well.
You think he's the
hidden
mastermind?
Listen, dude, he infiltrated Jabba's palace. Right? We saw him in Jabba's palace, so he's been secretly pulling the strings this whole time.
Now let's say that was a revelation.
All right.
Would you go with that? Would you like that revelation?
No. No, that would be utterly, completely preposterous and ridiculous. The actual that's kind of like, oh crap, what was Giancarlo Esposito's name again in Breaking Bad?
Gus Fring.
Gus Fring. That's like saying Gus Fring is actually your plumber. Gus Fring's always in everybody's houses doing the plumbing. You know? I don't know. I don't think I'd buy into that. All right. Thanks for that, Lucas. And thanks again for watching for so long, man. All right. Next up, Rico Dread writes, I just want to point out, you guys keep bringing up The Godfather in reference to the goings on of the recent Boba Fett episode.
Uh-oh.
But I got to point out that the bomb scene was lifted directly from the opening of one of the Untouchables. That is true. There's a very similar scene in the Untouchables. Never bring a knife just like a wop, bringing a knife to a gunfight. One of my other favorites. Yes, but you misunderstood, Rico. I'm not saying, oh, that's just like something that happened in The Godfather. To me, it was the Godfather vibe. It was the newspaper wrapped around a fish, left on the door. It's a message. You're going to be sleeping with the fishes.
That's right.
And that's what the bombing of that cantina was. It wasn't strategic. It was a message. And that whole thing about, Boba Fett with his consigliere and all of his people, and the Pikes are making their moves and all that kind of stuff. That's the part to me. It's not that, oh, this exact thing happened in Godfather. That's why. No. It's just the feel of it.
Yeah.
It feels Godfather-like. And I'm like, okay, I wish there were 4 more episodes so we could really explore this. But okay, I'm digging it. So that's what do you see what I'm saying?
I totally agree with you. I mean, I think about, like you said, Untouchables. There's a Sylvester Stallone movie called Nighthawks that begins with Wolfgar, Rutger Hauer's character, going into a department store and bombing that. So, it's a tried and true trope when somebody goes in and bombs something.
It's forever new.
Look at Die Hard with a Vengeance. Bonwit Teller blows up at the beginning of that.
Listen, I'm telling you, you and I were talking about maybe putting together some editorial videos. And I remember I thought of this one editorial video I wouldn't mind us doing, which would be like the top 10 best openings to a movie. Die Hard with a Vengeance. With just that, the music score, ba 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 da ba ba, with shots of the city, and all of a sudden, boom, an explosion. It's like, what? That is one of the best openings to a movie ever, and that would be a good list for us to do.
It's not a bad list.
Openings for that. Maybe we'll get you to work on that. See what you can come up with.
I like that idea.
All right, let's keep going here. Next up, we've got Chris Cass writes, thank you all for doing great work. Well, thank you so much. Now, assuming that the Batman is going to be a massive success following the Riddler, Penguin, and Catwoman, who would you want as the villains in a sequel? I read somewhere that the Mad Hatter was cut out of the Batman. It's funny because somebody asked almost an identical question this morning. Same thing. I don't care what villain they use because it doesn't matter. It's all that matters. They could do Billy the Paperboy is the new mastermind villain of Gotham. And if they write it well and make it compelling, it's going to be great. You can put in Doctor Doom, as they have many times in movies, and the movies still suck, even though he's one of the greatest comic book villains there is. So that's why when people ask me, who do you want to see as the villain? My answer is, honestly, I don't care. Because if they get one of my favorite villains, it doesn't matter if they don't write it great. And if they take one of a villain I've never heard of, it doesn't matter if they write it great. So that's where I'm at. But you said something earlier today, Rob, that I do agree with. Because of the way, the feel that this Batman seems to have, this is a more gritty, even more grounded maybe than the Christopher Nolan one.
Absolutely.
Some classic Batman characters and villains may not be appropriate, like Mr. Freeze, like Clayface, like Killer Croc, like several that I just don't think they fit in there. So you'll have to lean more towards some of the other ones, a KG Beast, or a variation thereof. Okay, that could work.
I could see that happening.
Who might be some other
Ex-terrorist.
Batman, of the Batman pantheon? Do you think in there that would be Court of Owls is one you mentioned that is totally makes sense.
I mean, I keep thinking about. I used to love Batman and the Outsiders, the first Batman, where they had stupid villains like the Nuclear Family, and it was all goofy, and that could never work in as Batman villains for this.
I agree. All right, next up, Preston the Kryptonian writes, one of two. In Endgame, I like that Cap was able to move Mjolnir, but when it actually happened on opening night, Thursday night, everyone in the theater cheered, including my friends who sat next to me. But I just continued to sit there like, what? How is he able to suddenly pick up Mjolnir when any one of the Avengers could have been worthy? It was only after I saw that I realized that Cap actually moved the hammer a tiny bit in Age of Ultron. I just thought it came out of nowhere. Thanks. Oh no, and you're right. And that is one of the, first of all, the more I watch Age of Ultron, the more I like that movie.
Yep.
That movie gets better and better every time I watch it.
Yep.
But one of the scenes that I always liked was the party at Avengers Tower, where you want to Stan Lee's great cameos, where he's with a bunch of other war buddies. Yeah, war buddies and stuff like that. And of course, then at the end, the Avengers are hanging out, drinking on their downtime, and they decide to see who can try to move the hammer. And then Cap steps up. Now, my all-time favorite comic book character is Magneto, but my favorite character in the MCU is Cap. And so Cap steps up, grabs it, and it does budge. And one of the great shots is they pull focus on it. It's a beautiful, beautiful shot. So the way the shot is framed, you're seeing just the hammer, Cap's hands on it, and past the hammer is a straight line shot so you can see Thor's face. And when Cap nudges it, the look on Thor's face, like what? It was seriously, we don't talk enough about beautifully created shots, and the pull focus on that was a brilliant shot, and I love that. And Rob, a lot of people then after that always say that's why when he does have Mjolnir, Thor looks at him and says, I knew it. So, right, that's got a callback all the way back to Age of Ultron. What do you make of all that?
I think that absolutely. But, the thing is, Cap he's pure of heart. He's pure of soul.
Yeah.
And if Mjolnir and that magic is looking into someone's soul to see, being worthy isn't like somebody just deems you worthy. You have to live a life of being worthy. And Captain America, all the way back to when he was Steve Rogers.
Without powers.
No powers, threw himself on what he thought was a grenade and very probably would have been killed saving his other soldiers during basic training, all the way back to Captain America, the First Avenger. And you see, like, when he's working with veterans in Endgame, the conversation he has with Black Widow when they're talking about what are we doing? It's been 5 years. They're trying to keep the peace after the blip. Captain America, we've watched his journey where he is pure of heart. And that's why he can get Mjolnir. Because even in the face, if you're wondering, here he was standing toe-to-toe with Thanos. The rest of the world's
one
decimated.
Of the greatest moments, by the way, in the whole of the MCU.
I mean, come on. If you're not convinced that Captain America is worthy of wielding that hammer, the end of Endgame proves it.
Yeah, see, and a lot of people, I get in a lot of debates with people about the whole thing that, especially one thing is like any of the Avengers could have been worthy. No, being worthy isn't just about being a good person. I mean, the worthiness of the hammer forged in the heart of a dying star by the king of Asgard bequeathed upon. The worthy is a different level. And there is only one guy who is worthy. And
it was a life. It was his entire life.
Yes.
It was the fact that he was a scrawny, nothing human being that was then bestowed with powers, but still, it didn't change who he was inside.
What's the actual line? It's in Captain America: The First Avenger. As Stanley Tucci, I forget the professor's name.
Oh yeah,
but as Stanley Tucci,
is it Erskine?
That sounds
Professor
right.
Erskine.
But when he's the night before the experiment, or the night before they do the procedure, and he's talking to Steve. And I cannot remember the exact words, but it's remember that what makes you who you are a good man. This guy, this scrawny kid who had no power at all, except to throw himself in harm's way if he thought it could protect other people. And the heart of a lion that even when he's getting beat down, he'll still keep getting up and saying, I can do this all day.
Dude, I'm getting chills.
I can do this all day. Then he was like... Steve Rogers is a unique entity within the realm of the MCU. He's not the most powerful. But he is. That's why he is the heart and soul of everything.
And the thing is, that's why the magic of Asgard or whatever can see that it looks right into you.
Yeah.
And he's the only person. It's literally his entire life. It's the culmination of who he was his entire life that's led him to that moment.
Yeah. I agree. All right. Last question of the day, guys, comes to us from Kevin Joyce. And Kevin Joyce writes in, not betting on it, but wouldn't be surprised if we get a Kenobi teaser for the Super Bowl. Again, somebody else wrote in about that this morning. And look, I get it. The timing and all that kind of stuff lines up. I have my doubts that Disney's going to buy a $6.5 million 30-second ad buy on another network. Like if it was ABC, which is owned by, the Super Bowl is not on ABC. And if ABC, which is owned by Disney, was broadcasting the Super Bowl, I think that would up the chances of that quite a bit because it would be then handing money from their left hand into their right hand. So there'd be something there. But I don't see them doing a $6.5 million ad buy on another network's broadcast of the thing. It wouldn't be a bad move, but I don't think they're going to do it. Is it possible? Yes. But I will say, Rob, I will be mildly surprised, pleasant surprise, right, but mildly surprised if they did do that. What do you think?
I think so too, but it isn't the craziest thing.
Right.
I mean, but like you said, it's a lot of money. And I've heard that they're going to there's speculation they're going to put a whole trailer. Well, it wouldn't surprise me, John. I know it's expensive, but they do have the show coming, and it's probably the most eagerly awaited Star Wars thing since The Force Awakens, and I could see them spending the cash, if only to start the buzz, but we don't, or to at least announce a release date. Like, when are we going to get this show?
Yeah, which as far as I know, they still haven't done. So, I mean, look, the Super Bowl, that's the place to do it. It would make sense. It is the Super Bowl. If you want to make a splash with it.
And I'll tell you, I don't think, as you pointed out, we've had some great football. This Super Bowl matchup, I think, is going to be one of the most eagerly watched because the Cincinnati Bengals, that's a Cinderella story. The Rams getting into the Super Bowl in their brand new stadium
at home.
I think coming off of these playoff games, I think this is probably one of the most eagerly awaited Super Bowls since I can remember. That the Seahawks are not in. So it is.
Or Tom Brady, one of the few Super Bowls in the last couple of decades that won't have Tom Brady.
Yeah, and you have two young quarterbacks. I mean, we're seeing the future of.
Stafford's not so young. He's like a 10-year veteran or more.
That's true. That's true.
But the one thing I will say that does go to that favor as well is that, look, those of us in these circles, we've known forever there's an Obi-Wan show coming. There's a lot of people in the general public that don't.
Right.
And if you want to make instant global awareness that there's an Obi-Wan series coming, you do drop it at Super Bowl.
And we've seen really nothing.
No.
There hasn't been.
No, we've seen literally nothing.
Nothing. I mean, can you imagine what it would be like to see Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi just talking?
Dude, I'll tell you
saying
what.
lines of dialogue we haven't heard before?
Him, when I was at D23 and they made the announcement that they were doing it, and Ewan McGregor's comes on stage, and Kathleen Kennedy was already on stage. and he grabs a mic, Ewan McGregor. This was a great moment. I was there. It was great. He grabs a mic. He says, Kathleen Kennedy. He goes, yes, Ewan? Ask me if I'm going to be Obi-Wan again. Ewan, are you going to be Obi-Wan again? Yes. And that was it. And the whole auditorium went nuts and crazy. It was a glorious moment that was years ago. But here we are. So look, I still don't think they will because of all the practical things I mentioned. But man, if you do want a big splash, that's where you do it. And that's where you let the world know an Obi-Wan series is coming.
Now, I don't exactly know. We don't know when Grogu was rescued from the Jedi Temple.
Well, it happened during the Purge.
It happened during the Purge. Where was Obi-Wan?
He wasn't there. Remember, Obi-Wan saw video. Remember in the movie, he saw video of it happening. But now I'm going to ask you. So he wasn't there.
How do we know that Grogu was in the Jedi Temple when this happened?
Yes.
We do know that for a fact.
Yes, that was established in Mandalorian season 2. He was there, then he got rescued. Somebody got him away from there and remember, even in this past episode, he's remembering.
I know
the clone troopers, but it was coming in and wiping everybody out.
We see the clone troopers, but it looked like he was in an alleyway,
a hallway of some kind.
Maybe he wasn't in the Jedi Temple. Maybe it was somewhere. Maybe it was later. I don't know.
I think they specified in Mandalorian that.
No, I know, but I mean, he could have gotten out. Like this could have been almost anywhere.
Oh, that's true.
What if like he'd already been removed from the Jedi Temple and it was that thing that we saw was elsewhere or something? And what if it's Obi-Wan that saves him?
It seems unlikely, but it's possible.
I mean, that could, because I mean, we don't know where did Obi-Wan go. We saw him at the end of Revenge of the Sith when he brings the baby Luke to Owen and Beru.
Yeah.
And then presumably but what did he do before that?
Well, there really wasn't any time. Like, didn't he literally get the babies and went straight there?
Yeah, I guess they did. I don't know. I'm just thinking, how could they?
Still a lot of possibilities, though.
Because somebody rescued him. I mean, unless we're going to see Sam Jackson. Is it somebody that we know?
That's what a lot of people are speculating. A lot of people are speculating that it was a severed-handed Samuel L. Jackson Mace Windu. That he survived the fall and crawled back to the Jedi Temple as the Purge was starting to happen, and he got Grogu.
Okay, I got one then for you.
All right.
Vader. What if it's Anakin that saves him?
Took pity on him?
Something like that.
After slaughtering all the other kids?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what, kid? There's something about you that's special. I'm going to keep you alive.
Who knows? Because he was there. He went in and killed the younglings.
Yeah.
Maybe for whatever reason, he took Grogu with him.
Just maybe because he looked like Yoda and thought maybe you're
he didn't know. He didn't know, or I don't know.
Yeah.
They're gonna do something.
Yeah, it's got to be something.
There's gonna be something that ends this episode. I have no idea what it is, to be honest.
It's gonna be Dominic Toretto.
Because of family.
Because of family.
Yeah,
it's all about family.
I'll be curious though. It's got to be somebody. I think they're gonna answer that question. I really do.
And honestly, again, it's shrinking the universe more, but I think there's a solid 20% chance it's Mace Windu. Like if it had to be somebody that we knew, I would put my money on that right now. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about that or any of the topics that we talked about here today on this episode of Mailbag? Now, listen, there are more questions that have come in since this last one, but we'll pick up on those on our next episode of Mailbag on Monday. But for now, thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. Number two, you supported our channel as you did it. And all of us here, thank you guys so much for that. And once again, I want to remind you, if you'd like to get in a comment or question to be read on an upcoming episode of Mailbag, just go down to the description of this video. You'll see a tip link. Click on that there, or enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question read on Mailbag if we deem the question or comment appropriate to be used on our show. And of course, you'll be supporting our channel at the same time. So for Robert Meyer Burnett, myself, John Campea, thank you guys for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.